Welcome to an episode of Wing Zero Duality. And I've only got a few seconds with the average amount of you viewers, so I'll get to the point. Metal Gear Solid, a video game franchise dealing in stealth espionage action. Alright? Part military drama, part family drama. Part anime style, part comedy. Part kung fu, part western. Incomprehensible to most, and seen through a lens of perspective conditioned by many. Where does the truth lie? And whether its production, in terms of film, or multimedia showcase, fourth wall breaking, could that be the future of arts and entertainment? And can fans be the cornerstone of resolving for the conflict which prevents for its actualization in a way which translates into a cinematic experience worth watching? There. Shoot. And so, about Metal Gear Solid. What about these fans? It seems that Metal Gear Solid is, after decades of having analyzed it, played through it, discovered more and more that underlies. It is heralded by the rebellious and the progressive, and as well as those who see society as unkept, and so must be quite critical of how the message is conveyed out of Metal Gear Solid. Warnings are that of which is often referred to as being contained within the messaging of Metal Gear Solid. Warnings of the future. All right. Ones that warn about whether humankind will lose its special quality in the age of digital information overflow, or whether the human brain must be as critical as can be in order to ensure misinformation does not become a tidal wave that overcomes the human being. And trying to sparse then at such a point between left or right, between entertainment or let's say informative value. The lines, they blur. The blurring of the lines then is something that all throughout what I found for myself spying on Metal Gear Solid fans is that it's a difficult place for most to settle in with, sit with, be at ease with. And it's a reflection of society at large, where lines cannot blur within oneself as to our likes and dislikes, our beliefs and disbeliefs, our dependency on psychological time to get us through the difficulties in life, which have been with humanity for decades, not centuries, not millennia. All those dealing with society structure. And so Metal Gear Solid is an interesting piece when it comes to time, because not only is it detailed in its exact historical fiction, ranging from the 1960s onwards, yet there's omissions as to how exactly the history of these characters came to be. There are time gaps of which may have been filled with the average day life of an otherwise unaverage set of characters. And such gaps then are the ones which encompass our lives. Fans of Metal Gear Solid. Ones who draw great inspiration, not only in terms of excitement and seriousness, but of the sort of creative freedom that can be had with the limitations set upon us. Whether it be the limitations of a PlayStation, right? An analogy as to being able to cultivate sound design, simply put, in ways that resonate. Being able to take hand drawings, make them come alive into digital avatars. And whether acting in a nuanced and intentional manner makes for subtle differences that create big changes in the hearts of many fans. And whether that experience, the experience that can be described as coming from within the heart, within the soul, whether such quality of experience, upon its letting go, makes for its quality to be all the more special. And so, we find Metal Gear Solid divided between its original creator, Sony Productions, having the rights to, I suppose, its image, its likeness, film, and Konami, having rights to the video game incarnations. And these three divisions seem to hold pieces of the puzzle, but all three are contained within the fan itself. Whether it be what is the future of video gaming? What is the future of the cinematic experience? And what is the future of the possibilities for creative expression in a new dimension of creative productions? Hideo Kojima's had mentioned upon watching Deadpool and Wolverine that a fifth dimension of filmmaking is upon us. Ones that break fourth walls. And perhaps it's the kind of speed and space necessary for the future of creativity when artificial intelligence can provide contained storylines, can provide audio, visual, right? Not saying that that's not what a human can do moving forward as well, but for something to be outside of what the artificial can do, then creativity must find new expanse. Creativity itself must come upon a creative solution. And certainly, in a world more interconnected than ever, where such sort of creativity cannot be simply outlined by one individual set of knowledge, memory, or experience. Because we see that the centralization of self is a dangerous thing. Centralization of self, which is the status quo of this world, could perhaps lead to one of the more dire consequences we find within Metal Gear Solid. The need to control in the name of peace. And peace according to one set of values. And the success of peace being on the condition one sets upon what peace is. And so then the computer can go ahead, based on those parameters, and begin deciding, limiting, opening, discovering, messaging, so on. And by the end of Metal Gear Solid, we find that the only enemy the human was facing was itself. And that the separation of self, the centralization, which creates a center line, which separation then becomes inevitable, creates for the space where omissions, lies, half-truths, misinformation can spread. And if we go all the way to the beginning of Metal Gear Solid, the jungles of Russia, although the area that's outlined in Metal Gear Solid, those aren't really jungles, they're more like tundra in real life. But in this case, jungles is what is prominent, is a feature itself in the experience of the beginning of Metal Gear Solid. Nature knows no straight lines, knows no apparent boundaries, and even the jungles, they flow into the deserts, into the mountains. And once the human being sees centralization for itself, right, whether it be the player or the character, and sees the military bases creating straight lines in response to an enemy which is also within the same paradigm of centralization, and the dividing lines which have spurned the difficulties in this world, which we look to escape into entertainment from, both in-world and in the game. The blurring of such lines, then, could be of a transformative nature. And the simplicity of what can come across as to Metal Gear Solid then allows for an ease of registering its complexity in a matter that could prove an experience worth letting go of. Let's see if, in a short amount of time, there can be strides with the interconnected and interdependent nature of decentralized networks, ones that can bridge gaps, ones that can blur lines in favor of creative resolution. Let's see.